So the Salomon XT6, it's kind of all over tons of For You pages, social media algorithms. If you are into outdoor fashion in general, or even sneakers, you've most likely seen this shoe. In my years of backpacking and hiking, I have to say, I've seen more XT6s out at coffee shops, on the New York City subway, than I have ever out here on the trails on hikers. So, I personally own 2 pairs. And I got them with the intent mainly for a casual, fashion, stylish sneaker. However, I kind of wanted to put it to the test, see if it kind of lives up to the hype of being an outdoor hiking shoe. And I've been taking these out for the last couple years, on and off, gathering thoughts, and so we'll see if it's worth the hype and if it's a shoe that can strike a balance between being stylish, being a nice casual shoe that you like the aesthetic of, and also being able to come out here on your adventures and be a good footwear choice. So these were launched back in 2013, and it was an ultra marathon shoe. So they designed it for people who run many, many miles. However, Salomon removed it from their main line in like 2016. Just a little bit later, they found that, we could repurpose this design here to be more of a fashion shoe. And so they came back, and Salomon has their lifestyle line, which in my opinion, they still work well hiking and going outdoors. It's just not to the same degree as their main line. So talking about some features, I want to talk about tread, because I think that's a very important distinction and one of the main things that separates hiking shoes and trail runners from normal runners and sneakers. So these have a chevron style contra grip sole. Regarding traction, no shoe is going to grip super well in slippy mud, mossy rocks. It's just not going to happen. However, I really love the chevron design of these shoes. They grip really well. Like going down here on loose stuff, it really just grips up and hooks up really well. Really no complaints there. So another day, and it's been snowing. You know, it's kind of early in the season, so we're gonna test out the traction and a little bit muddier and slippier conditions today. So I want to touch on the upper material. I opted to not get the Gore-Tex material, which you look today and you're like, well, maybe that would have been nice. However, generally speaking, especially with the low top shoe, if you get water in it, it's going to take a lot longer for it to dry out on the inside, whereas a breathable upper, if you get it wet, it's going to dry out a lot faster. So I really want to emphasize wearing a pair of merino wool socks, because in the event that your feet do get wet, the merino wool is going to continue to insulate your feet. So your feet are going to stay warm, and also they're like naturally antibacterial, so it kind of helps with smell too, especially if you're backpacking for a few days. That's very nice. Plus, a nice pair of thick socks like this will really help prevent blisters as well. So those are kind of 3 reasons why, you want to get a good pair of socks with whatever type of hiking shoe that you're going to be choosing. So one of Salomon's unique design features that are featured in a lot of their shoes is their quick lace lacing system, and it's really characterized by these really thin, low profile laces and that are looped together, so there's no separate ends to it, and then there's a adjustable clamp so you can adjust how tight you want your shoes and then secure the clamp where it is. And then with all the excess lacing, you can tuck it all up into a pocket on the tongue. So one of the really nice things about this is it leaves it to be very low profile. It's not going to get snagged really on any twigs or sticks or anything like that. And I think another pro of this is the clamp that secures them actually holds it pretty well. I generally am a set it and forget it kind of guy. I don't really need to adjust it. I kind of just slip them on and it's the same tightness as when I slip the shoes off. I think another pro is the aesthetics of it. So it's a very like futuristic, unique looking lacing system. So I think it's partially one of the reasons why the techwear community kind of likes these shoes, and even some of the more gorpier core fashion world, and really just the fashion world in general. I think it's a very unique looking lace system. Now those are the pros. Moving on to the cons of the lacing system is the shoe only has 4 eyelets on each side of the shoe. So there's only a limited amount of areas where the shoe tightens to your foot and secures to your foot. Most of the time, it's not a big deal. Out on normal average trails, completely fine. Around town, perfect. However, there is a lack of being able to adjust and get a custom fit of these trail runners to your foot. So if you're going down a really long descent, you might want to adjust the shoe in a different way so your foot doesn't slide forward. And I just find that I kind of struggle with getting a good tightness level when I'm going downhill without my foot kind of slipping forward in the shoe without it being overly uncomfortably tight. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is the midsole. So actually, for not being that thick, it's a very, very comfortable EVA foam, and it provides a good amount of cushioning. It's not so much where it like makes you completely numb to like what's under your feet. Like if you're on a root or a rock, like you'll feel it through the midsole, but it's not going to completely negate your feeling of it. And it's not going to be too harsh either. So I think it's a really good, middle ground on firmness and give and cushioning. So another unique thing with these shoes is they have their, I think it's the XT6 chassis, and basically it's a plastic shank that's a little bit more three-dimensional that goes through the bottom of the midsole. I'll take my shoe off here. Let me not drop my foot in the snow. So this hard plastic bit right here, it kind of goes down, and you can see it line all the way up through the midsole, and it provides a little bit more structure to the shoe. And so it's not, just pure mush underneath your foot. You do get some structure there, which is nice, but that plastic part, it does kind of give here and there. So I think it's a good middle ground on stiffness. Told you those laces hold, and yeah, just like new. Or I shouldn't say just like new, just like I just tied it. There you go. Also, by the way, if you are into hiking or backpacking at all, getting one of these little sit mats, it is the best thing. Like, it actually makes a huge difference. Like any rock, boom, couch. And taking naps on this before, put it up against a rock, lay your torso and head on it. Dude, snooze city. Anyways. Back to the shoe. Bleeding over from the lacing system into the fit of these, they're pretty wide. They're much wider than my speed crosses and like my approach shoes, which are the Arc'teryx Conceal. However, they're not wide enough where it competes with something like the Ultra Lone Peaks, where they have a dedicated like wide toe box for more of a natural toe spread action. I will say my biggest gripe with these is I never feel like my heel is locked in to the shoe. And I feel like this could be because there's the lack of that heel lock loop that a lot of other trail runners have. And also just that lack of customizable tightness throughout the shoe, like I mentioned before. It's not that I ever get blisters or my heel slips in these really. It just is like a feeling that my foot isn't super locked in, if that makes sense. Let me touch on traction, because it kind of snowed a little bit more than I thought it would snow, so I kind of wish I brought my micro spikes. However, these are working pretty good. Of course, you still have to watch where you step. Look out for roots and rocks. Obviously don't step on it if it's like slanted, because when it's snowy or wet like this, you're asking to slip. So really that goes for any shoe. Even if you have micro spikes on, still got to be mindful of foot placement. But so far, doing so good. I don't want to jinx it because I have 2 passes to go over, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I do wish I brought my spikes, but point being, you got to get merino wool socks. My feet, even though these are not waterproof, they're fine. Like, they're warm. So we made it to the top of pass 1. Got real windy up here. Yeah. My face is cold, that's for sure. I think one of the cool things about these shoes is they come in a lot of different fun colors. So that's strictly a style point to it. There's a lot of different variations. So if you wanted more subtle all black, go for it. If you want something a little brighter, you can get full neon. I kind of like these. They have a little bit of neon green on them. I think it's a nice little pop of color. But they cycle through a lot of different colorways, which I think is part of the reason why the fashion space adopted these so much. So like I mentioned before, I have 2 pairs. I have these, and then I have a pair which was a collaboration with 11 by BBS. He does some very cool washes to it. So these are mine. They kind of look like I mowed the lawn in them a lot. But functionally it's the same exact shoe. And when I'm wearing these casually, I will tend to kind of have a more plain rest of the fit because these shoes do pop, especially unless you get like all black or all white, they're gonna kind of stand out. You know, Salomon, they really lean into the fun colorways. Try and keep the rest of the fit pretty plain, so I'll just wear like a pair of like black cargo pants with it and like a plain gray t-shirt or something really, really subtle. Go just throw like a zip-on hoodie with it or something. I have seen a lot of girls wear them though with jeans though, and so I'm just putting up some pictures here on the screen now of a bunch of different ways that you can wear it, even if you're not into the kind of the hiking tech wear stratosphere, whatever you want to call it. And speaking of the silhouette, it is a little bit bulbous in my opinion, so it's not like a super sleek shoe. It's a little rounded around the edges, and like the toe box with the toe protective cap, it's a little round when you compare it to something like a Speed Cross. So my final verdict on these is I think if you are after a well-rounded generic hiking shoe that you also like the style of and that you would wear out around town styling them in casual outfits, I think the XT6 is a good option. If you are looking at a backpacking shoe and you're going to be doing many miles day after day, I would probably recommend getting something like the Ultra Long Peaks, something with, you know, a 0 drop heel and a wide toe box, so it's really comfortable on your feet to crank out many miles. And if your goal is to climb more technical peaks, I'm talking like class 3 and up, I would really recommend getting a pair of like approach shoes, so like the Arc'teryx Conceal. Those are what I have. Something like that where there's a little bit more structure to it and makes your foot a little more stable on really technical terrain. Almost gearing towards like a climbing shoe. It's not a climbing shoe, but it just has elements of like a stiffer sole and whatnot. I'm gonna go ahead and leave links to like all my different outfits and like hiking gear in the description below. I often do use like affiliate links. So if you do choose to purchase something and you use my link, I do get a small commission on it, on the sale of it. It doesn't add anything to the price for you, but it just gets me a little kickback if you found this video helpful. So if you wouldn't mind leaving a like, I do kind of hiking videos, I do fashion videos and kind of mesh them on this channel. So it's a really kind of a weird niche that I'm doing here, but if that's something up your alley, you know, go ahead and check out the channel and leave a comment on anything that you would like to see. I heard like my whole like gear loadout for like my backpacking, so I may do that, and may do like a backpack review. I don't know. Just go ahead and let me know. So anyways, have a good one. I'll see you, and